Hi everyone, it's me Helene here, Cabin Fever Crochet. Time for a little outdoor chit chat and catching up and updates and brief yarn review. So what do you think? What do you think of my hat? My latest. Can you see? Hopefully you can see in the light. There's just a hint of sparkle. I'm going to get right up in your face. See if you can see that. Hopefully you can. Well, this is one I mentioned the last time, that if you like the bucket hat or the concept of it, but you prefer a little bit more of a brim, a little more sun coverage for your face, well, there you go. So I'm working on that one, but in the meantime I wanted to stop in, say hello. What have you been up to? What are you working on? If it's summertime where you live, like it is here in the United States, here in northeastern Washington state, we're just starting to really feel our summer. We had quite the storm last night. It was pretty intense. It was a squall that came through. Yeah, that was something, because here our climate, the air is relatively dry. We get a little bit of moisture, humidity now and then can really feel it because we're not used to it. But other than that, it's pretty dry, and we don't see thunderstorms that often, and especially to that intensity. And let's see, what is new? Well, you probably would like me to get to the review, so I will go ahead and do that first. And if you'd like to stick with me, I just like I said, a little chit chat, go over some things, tell you what I've been up to, what I have going on. Okay, so now this hat goes along with my yarn review, and I picked up two. This is a portion of it left, and this is the new Summer Nights by Lion Brand yarn, and it is very, very fine, pretty close to a thread weight, maybe the number 3 type of crochet thread, but finer because the crochet thread is a mercerized cotton, and it has a lot of strength and resiliency. It's more dense, and this one is 100% acrylic, and I hope that I'm close enough. Well, it'd help if I have it on my finger. There we go. And it's very fine. It's very soft. It has metallic running through it, and I hope that's showing up. Maybe if I pull back in the sun a little bit, if you can see the glisten. Hopefully you could see that in my hat. And it reminds me a little bit of the new Stellina yarn, or the Stellina, metallic, that's in some of the finer type of yarns that I've been seeing come out lately. And because of it, it's soft, it's not scratchy whatsoever. And this is 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 437 yards, 400 meters. It's a number 1 superfine. And what I did was combine this yarn with the other one that's on my hat that I'll show you in a sec. And I was a little bit concerned, because when I saw this in the skein in the store, which came from Walmart, and I don't get in there very often, but I happened to go in, I needed something else, and of course I had to walk by the yarn section, and I saw this, and they actually are carrying the Kobu yarn, the cotton bamboo yarn too. And so it was nice to see some of the nicer yarns in there. And I saw this online at Joann.com, and they have the big skeins of it, and I knew I didn't need that much, and So I was happy to see this. It was $3.97. You get quite a bit, and I do believe I can get actually 2 hats out of it. And I had purchased this other yarn from Ice Yarns. It was my first and only order so far. All I did was get 1 8-pack of this, and it's a number 3 weight and 50-gram balls, 176 ounces. Wow, it's really compact. 1.76 ounces, 150 meters, 164 yards per 50-gram ball, and it was in their summer sale that I got a little bit earlier this year just to try out, and then I got it. And you know, sometimes when you order online, looks can be a little different from the description or what you think it might be in person when you go to feel it. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this, because cotton, and this is a cotton acrylic blend, and I had that written down, I believe it, and it is, I think it's 60-40 cotton acrylic. Sometimes it can be really soft, and other times you get more of that dishclothy string-like texture. So I worked up a swatch for a scarf, didn't really care for it, so I thought maybe I can combine it to a hat. And I tried it in my bucket hat, and it was okay, but it was a little bit on the thin side, didn't quite have enough structure to it. And the bucket hat is just that right kind of in between. It has a little bit of texture and structure, but it's still soft enough so you have that in a curvy bucket shape. So I thought of this when I went into Walmart, and I thought, I didn't have it with me, but I'm going to give it a try. And initially I tried a number 10 or number 3 crochet thread, and interestingly enough, that the texture and that little bit more thickness of the crochet thread compared to this was too much, too heavy, too thick. I knew it wasn't going to work up even for this type of hat, which has a little more structure to it. And then I tried a number 10 crochet thread, and the two just did not combine well. It was sticking up. You could tell it was something completely different. Didn't have a good feel to it. I did not like that at all. So I picked this up and I tried the two together, and even though the Summer Nights has various colors quite similar to this one, the colors really don't show up any different. All you can see is primarily the Ice Yarns color, and they combined and integrated so well into one. Although I will say, any time that you're putting two yarns together, and particularly two of different thicknesses and textures, but even regardless, you know, for example, working with the Red Heart It's a Wrap, the rainbow yarn, or the Lion Brand Ombre Life yarn, each of which have 4 individual strands of thread that are not wound or spun together. They're just loose 4 individual threads. The same type of thing. You have to be super careful and make sure and go a little bit slower. And if you're a fast crocheter than I am, and you just kind of want to keep humming along, you have to really pay attention, because even if you think you are, it is so easy to miss one of these threads, and then you go back along and like, what happened? So then you have to do some creative repair work, which I've done, and it works out all right. But just to avoid that, just want to let you know, if you make sure you pull up both of those loops good and be consistent with your stitches, and just every so often check, so that if you do want to pull it back, you don't have a whole lot of work to undo. But I found that this is soft. It worked up nice. When I started to say earlier, you know, when I saw it in the skein on the shelf and on the end where it was cut, and this happens whether it's Lion Brand or just say a high-end yarn that has maybe that stellina in it. At the end, the metallic can tend to separate off of the other fiber a little bit, and I saw that lifting up here and there, and even places like here's a good example where it is, can you see that? Where it's sticking up a little bit right there. Okay, even places like that I could see it and I would thought, oh, is this going to come apart? Because I've had that with other types where they just did not stay joined at all. And one of them, for example, which I like the yarn, the end result, but I did not enjoy working with it for this reason. I had to do a lot of splicing together, is the Caron Simply Soft, the sparkly one that they have. I can't think, their Party, yes, that's it, the Party yarn. And that one for me was really problematic. Even though it's just so pretty, I just kind of wonder with wearing it in the long haul, if you happen to snag it, is that just going to wreck the whole thing? But these two came together really well, and it softened up this yarn even more because of the softness of the acrylic, but it's still it's lightweight, so the hat did not become heavy, and it's still able to breathe, but it gave it just enough thickness that I needed to create this hat. The Summer Nights, I am pleased with it for my purpose, but as with any yarn, sometimes you get pluses and minuses. And this does tend to tangle because it is so fine. Just be careful with it. I will probably ball the rest of it just to keep it intact. This is not a yarn, not because of the yarn, just because of the thinness. This is just, for me personally, way too thin to work with on its own, but I did get it for a specific purpose. And I have some other yarn that I want to use for this type of hat, and Walmart had, I think, 2 or 3 other colors, so I do plan on getting at least one more to work back to something that I already have so I can use it up. Might go with another one, not exactly sure. But it's a good way that if you have a number 3 weight of yarn, not the number 3 crochet thread, 2 completely different things, but you know, your number 3 weight, and you'd like to make this hat, which will be coming soon, I wanted to give you a couple more options, because the yarn that I'm going to be using and featuring you may not have access to, or you may have like something different than I do, or want to use up what you have. That's one way to do it. Doesn't break the bank, you know, and most people have a Walmart in their area, sorta, kinda. I mean, mine is like 50 minutes at least each way, but I just, when I'm down that way and happen to be in the area, then I pop in if I need anything. And it's always fun to go look at the yarn anyway. So that's another option, and I do really like this. It's a fun yarn, it's very pretty, it's soft, and it's just great combined. Back to this hat for a sec before I forget. I have been making hats like coming out of my ears for the farmer's market, and I finally, after all these weeks, decided I'm going to make one for myself because I love hats and I wanted a new one. And it's kind of cool the way it came out, and I took a lot of time with the designing and the numbers and getting the proportion correct in the way that I had envisioned it in my mind. This one came out smaller than the rest because the other yarn is a little bit thicker, has more density, but I still used the same schematics and it came out great. So I'm really happy about that, and you can wear it a few different ways. Just show you real quick with the brim all the way up, with it just partial, which that's kind of, I think, my favorite. I like that. I think it's kind of cool way. Or you can put the brim all the way down and just have a little bit of a semi floppy look if you want to. So let me know, please, if you would, what you think about that. All right, so the next yarn up, and before I dove into it, I really wanted to show you this. I ordered it sometime last month. I placed a small order with Love Crochet, which is now Love Crafts. They just combine their Love Knitting, Love Crochet into one. And I ordered the new Red Heart Croquette yarn because I wanted to give this one a try, and that was before I knew if the Summer Nights, the line brand, was going to be available anywhere near me. And I like to try a couple of different ones within the same category just to compare and see what's going to be the best option for me. And if you've been watching for a little while, you know I love the natural fibers and I love a good cotton. And so I like to try different ones within that category as well, and particularly for the warmer months because it's breathable. But too much cotton content, particularly if it's a cotton that has that texture that I need for the hats, it can be a little on the heavy side. So it's just that fine balance between the right weight and the breathability and staying with as natural as possible. But anyway, the Red Heart Croquette, you have to see this. This is like this little pancake in the palm of my hand. When I got it, I knew it was going to be small. There's no, like center core, how thread comes with that big cardboard core, like a toilet paper core in the center, and that takes up a lot of space. That's one thing I liked about it, that it was going to be compact, and I figured it would because it didn't have that. But look at this. This is just so tiny. But this has a whopping, this is a lot of yards. Again, it's a #1 superfine. I can't even read that. It calls for a B size crochet hook, 2.25 millimeter, or a #1 US knitting needle. 92% cotton, 5% poly, 3% other fibers. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this is 82 acrylic, 18% poly. So to me, that's has to be within the metallic portion, which is interesting. I've not seen metallic that is polyester, and I don't know if any of the rest of the fiber is part poly or not. So that's interesting. 5% poly and 3% other fibers. It's pretty lightweight, and you get, this is 1.5 ounces, 45 grams, 239 yards, 219 meters. Is that showing up all right? There. And this is pretty fine. So I wanted to show that to you before I started to work with it, so you could see what it looks like as it comes new. So I am going to combine this with a solid color yarn because I want to see if the colors show up, and you can see this transition. This one is called Calming, C-A-L-M-I-N-G, Calming. Let's say it all together, everybody. Calming. Take a deep breath and let it out when you do that. Doesn't that just help calm? Just the word alone is very calming. Do you like that? Is that weird? I like it. Treasure Island. So I apologize for going all over the place here. I had a little bit of coffee today. Can you tell? I usually do decaf when I drink it, or half calf. I don't drink coffee too often, not every day anyway. More of a teetotaler. So this one, Calming, is so pretty. I like the colorway. It's like a, I don't know how well that's showing up in this lighting. Well, trying to block, there we go. Some light from coming in. It's a periwinkle. A nice rich periwinkle to aqua. Oh, like a very pale blush color. Again, then aqua, periwinkle, and aqua. And it's interesting because there's quite a bit of color in the center and a little bit along the edge in that blush color, and then a little of like a stripe again of the periwinkle in between these two sections of aqua. So it's primarily aqua. I thought that would be kind of fun to try. And I don't know, back in maybe January-ish, January, February, I reviewed, was it around the time I reviewed that Crochet magazine, I think it was. I did a yarn haul from Hobby Lobby, no, erase, from Joann. And I picked up some Fair Isle Harbor yarn. I was so excited. Cotton bamboo from Viscose. So excited about it. Number 2 weight. I tried and I used a couple different hooks, and this yarn just absolutely drove me nuts because it splits not just on the end. So you've got like half a dozen different strands here, and it splits like this when you're working with it, not just on the end. And it was so difficult to work with, and because it's very slippery. So I took it out, I balled it up, and I thought, okay, right thing's gonna come along, I'm gonna make it work for something. So when I saw this yarn, I decided, aha, the Croquette, I'm going to give it a try and see if these two will work together the same as these two. And initially I tried the Fair Isle Harbor with a number 3 crochet thread, and the two combined together well, but it was too thick and too heavy. So I thought I would give this one a try and work up a swatch for you there. So I will do that right now, and I'll be back in just a flash. Well, that was fast, and that's because I haven't done anything. I thought maybe I could bring this up so you could see what I'm doing at least a little bit. Okay, so I have my 5.0 millimeter, there's that better, H hook. So I'm going to just chain 2. I'm going to start just like I do with that little bucket hat. And do 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1. So much better already. I can see that this Drive Me Nuts Fair Isle yarn is separating even as I crochet. You hear that? That's an interesting bird. So I think this is going to work up real nicely. I don't know how much color it's going to show. I was hoping that it's going to have enough stability with the two together to create this type of hat, but it's incredibly soft and pliable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do a couple more. Make my little circle here. Might as well do like I would, normally make something. Particularly because I got it for a specific purpose, but if it doesn't work out for this, it'd be fine. Instead of doing a hat like what's on my head, I could make a pretty little bucket hat out of this. Why not? The two combined would make a lovely scarf or a shawl. I believe that this Red Heart Croquette will work quite nicely with just about any yarn. Yeah. This yarn separates so bad that I'm having trouble, the Fair Isle, just keeping these together enough to pull my circle together. So I'll see, as far as hat goes, but I like it. I think it would be real pretty mixed with things. The Croquette or with the Summer Nights. I think either would work just fine. So it's interesting just having that little extra bit, and something with a little texture gives all the grip that I need to create this. And my circle, I can tell already, is smaller than what I would normally do for this hat. So, I'll figure it out and decide. But there's my little bitty swatch here. At least so you can see. You can see that together. Maybe. Can you? There we go. There's, it's because of the Fair Isle yarn that there's not a whole lot of definition in the stitches, because the stitches do tend to separate. So I think that would probably make a pretty lacy scarf, and it is just a hint. I don't even know if it's showing up combined together. There we go. Just a tiny hint of sparkle. And yeah, it'll be interesting how much this color comes through. But I just wanted to show you those, what I picked up recently as far as yarn goes. Not a whole lot. I did go into Hobby Lobby when they were having that huge clearance sale. And there was nothing there, and I went a couple of times, and the second time I went, there was a salesperson on the floor, and I asked her about it. Check this out. She said, oh yeah, the day everything went on sale, a lady came in, she filled 3 full shopping carts, like grocery kind of shopping carts, with yarn, about $600 worth of clearance yarn, and took all they had. So, oh well. Happy whatever she's doing with it, I guess. But I did pop in again yesterday just to see what's new and look at some other things. And they are clearancing even more out, and they got a few new yarns. But I didn't buy any yarn. That Sweet Divinity, Hobby Lobby's a yarn bee that I like so much. It's mostly acrylic with a little bit of nylon. The colors with the highs and the lows, it is so pretty, and it's so soft and has a silky hand to it, that little bit of nylon. And it's a new color called Amber Waves. Beautiful, beautiful. Picked it up, walked towards the register, walked back, put it back. I did that twice, and I put it back. I was so proud of myself. Not to say that I won't get it sometime in the possibly near future, but I do have a good fair amount of yarn, to say the least, and I really want to start using up what I have, moving some along, doing something with it. And I probably mentioned this before, some of you might know, but we had major internet issues for the most part of probably the last 6 weeks now. Had a technician come out, they finally agreed to, and as I had suspected from my own troubleshooting, it was indeed the line, and not just in one, but in 2 places. Unbelievable. That got resolved, and then up at the top of the road where the actual lines come in, had a big problem, and the technician, I didn't have internet for the last few days, so the technician came, and about 3.5, 4 hours later, they had to repair and replace all of them. So, yay. My speed isn't any faster. It is what it is. That's what we have here. I'm just happy that we have high-speed internet, even though it's the lowest you can get. So, oh yeah, I want to tell you, hey, I started a new farmer's market. I'm not doing the one on Sundays anymore, even though it was only 10 minutes from home. Everyone is so nice there. It's set back off the main road, and it's not very visible from the highway, and unfortunately it's not really well supported by the community, and it's sort of off in the middle of nowhere in between towns, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just really not that all that well supported, and we just don't get a large amount of people and foot traffic. And I did it last year, and I tried again this season for a month, and then I had to make a decision. It wasn't all that easy to make, but I'm glad that once I did, I had to just really weigh things out, and for me, it just didn't make sense for the amount of time and so forth. And even though I enjoyed it, I started at different markets on Fridays now, and it's at a town about 20-25 minutes north, and the highway goes right through town, so everything narrows. It's a very small 2-lane road, and everybody has to slow to a crawl. Get a lot of travelers to and from Canada, from north, and then coming south, and both ways. A lot of people come from the city. They might have summer cabins. They go to various lakes that are around, and we get a lot of snowbirds that come here during winter or summer, and then they leave and go someplace warm during the winter time. And it's in a park, and they get a lot of different little events that go on there, and it's a beautiful park with a footbridge with the creek that runs right next to where our booths are, and a little footbridge that goes across, and kids play in the water. It's a year-round creek that runs, and lots of beautiful shade trees, and it's such a lovely spot. And the market itself has grown. It used to be teeny tiny, but I believe it's under new management. And it's that perfect mix of policies and a little bit of structure, and that flows pretty much like one of those well-run machine type of things, but the perfect mix of that amount, yet it's very laid back and easy at the same time. Because I don't know if any of you have done markets and shows where, that got this whole scrolls list worth of rules and regulations, and it's so much and so expensive that to me it's stressful and not something at this particular time in my life that I want to deal with. So I'm really happy to have gotten into this lovely market, and it's a juried type of market, which means that they need to look at and approve the types of wares that you sell, and they limit the number of vendors with similar type of products. And there's another vendor. They're mostly a food vendor, but they have their own sheep, and they spin, and also she does some, I think they're some knitted bags that are very rustic, and that's fine, something totally different that I don't do. And I'm the only one there with the jewelry and crochet items and anything like that I have. And I also have some hair accessories, hair sticks, and stuff like that. So that's really exciting to be a part of. And what really cinched it for me is they have volunteers that come in the morning to set up in the afternoons. They can help people set up with their canopy, because mine's pretty heavy. It's just way too much for me to deal with by myself. Works out really well. So I'm going to insert pictures. So I'm enjoying that, doing that every Friday. And then when I'm done, it's like I have the whole weekend. This kind of brings me to the 4th of July at the beginning of the month. And even here in small town, they put on a really, really nice show. And it was, it's a funny thing, they don't do it actually on the 4th. They do one Loon Lake on the 3rd, and then Deer Lake on the 5th, and then they have boat parades and shows on the 4th. I've never heard of or seen that in any other place. It's different, but it was really enjoyable. And we used to go and sit up at a little ice cream shop across from the lake and watch, but we decided to do something different this year. And my husband and I went over to Deer Lake, and the fireworks didn't start until 10 p.m. Because it kind of makes up for how much lack of light we have during winter, but during to the peak of summer, this like the summer solstice, when the sun is the highest in the sky, it doesn't get dark till about 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, so that was enjoyable, and we didn't leave until a little bit later, and we thought, oh, we're even going to get a parking spot. No problem, right where I normally park, where I go there during the day. And we didn't even really come prepared with chairs, but I always keep a blanket. I had an extra jacket in my car and my sand chair from when I went to the lake a few days before. And everyone was just so mellow and just having little conversations with themselves. And they're like, sure, come on, there's plenty of room. So spread out the blanket. I was literally probably less than 5 feet, if that, a few feet from the water's edge. And with all the trees around and the sounds and the smells and everybody with their little bonfires going. And we got there a little bit before dark. And just the whole experience was so, I don't know, it was almost magical, special. It just taking everything in. It was so neat, and in such a peaceful environment, and being outside in the evening. And before the fireworks started, I laid back and I propped my head up with my hands, and I looked at the night sky and watched it changing, and I've enjoyed it like that in a long, long time. And people that have homes along the lake, they had their own fireworks going off first, and it was across the lake from a dock is where the show went. It was about a good 15 minutes or so. And with my older iPhone, I took some pictures, and even though some are a little grainy, I am really impressed. And at night, and because of the flash and there was a delay, I had to take a whole bunch to capture just the right ones, excuse me. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll include some of those pictures. I'll pull some of my favorite ones out of there. And even though it's beyond 4th of July, to me it's really pretty. And you just look at the colors in the sky and how they reflect down onto the water. You can see the ripples in the water and all the different colors. It's really neat. So I hope you'll watch through and enjoy that, and let me know what you think. So I do believe I am pretty much caught up for now. It's been a little while since we've had a chat and just kind of hung out together. All right, well, my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, taking time out of your day, evening schedule. Take care. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.